controversies and analysis. It was another hectic, power-packed news week, and in the next half hour, we will be discussing some of those in detail with my guests. But before that, what made news? From the deadlock over farmers' protests, the debate has now moved to whether the right to protest in a democracy can be allowed to infringe upon the right of access of other citizens. The question was raised when Supreme Court stepped in by hearing a clash of petitions on the problems of commuters owing to the farmers' protest. Peaceful protests have been allowed for now, but the moot question remains. Prime Minister Modi and senior ministers reiterated that the reforms were much needed. Several farmer groups also met the government supporting these reforms. It's an open rebellion against Mamata Banerjee and her nephew Abhishek. Top-line TMC leaders Shubhendu Adhikari and others have resigned from the party, alleging high-handedness, while some like Jitendra Tiwari are complaining of stepmotherly treatment towards their constituencies. The rebels have triggered an exodus months before West Bengal goes to polls. An old friendship is entering a new, vibrant arena. India and the United Kingdom have resolved to scale up their defense, strategic, business and people-to-people cooperation in the coming days. An interesting element of this will be the UK PM Boris Johnson as the chief guest in our Republic Day celebrations next month. The Cabinet Committee on Security has cleared a national security directive for the telecom sector. The new mechanism would help the government in declaring trusted sources/products for the benefit of telecom providers. This is being looked upon as India's message to Chinese companies. Another local body election and more bad news for the Congress. After the drubbing in GHMC, Bodoland Territorial Council and rural bodies of Rajasthan, it's now Kerala. Despite being riled in many controversies, the ruling LDF swept most of the local bodies, while the BJP has gained a substantial number of representatives across the state. Like Bengal, Kerala is also scheduled for assembly polls early next year. So, that was a quick look at few of the top issues which made headlines through the week. Clearly, a lot to discuss here. So, before we get on with the discussion, let me introduce you to our special panel this evening who will share their perspective with us on the subjects. I have with me here Jayanta Ghoshal, a seasoned erudite journalist, a keen watcher of national politics and an expert on Bengal affairs. Welcome Jayanta to Media Scan.
Thank you.
I also have with me Shubhamay Bhattacharjee, a senior journalist in the Business and Economic Affairs, consulting editor with the Business Standard and an expert on political economy. Welcome Shubhamay Bhattacharjee.
Thank you.
Viewers, the farmers' protests reached the Supreme Court this week. The apex court, after long hearings, has allowed peaceful protests for now, but insisted on dialogue to resolve the impasse. The debate revolved around the right to protest in a democracy against the right of access of citizens. Uncanny resemblance to the anti-CAA protests are obvious. Meanwhile, delegations of farmers who support the reform bills continue to meet the agriculture minister. After the protesting farm unions sticking to the precondition that laws must be withdrawn, the BJP leadership has embarked on an aggressive outreach program. Prime Minister Modi himself has been interacting with farmers directly, while Agriculture Minister N.S. Tomar wrote an emotional letter midweek addressed to the farmers of the country. So, will the court's intervention now help break the deadlock? We'll discuss that and much more. But before that, just listen in to what the Prime Minister had to say while defending the reforms.
आज जो लोग विपक्ष में बैठकर किसानों को भ्रमित कर रहे हैं, वो भी अपनी सरकार के समय इन कृषि सुधारों के समर्थन में थे, लेकिन अपनी सरकार के रहते वो निर्णय नहीं ले पाए, किसानों को झूठे दिलासे देते रहे। आज जब देश ने यह ऐतिहासिक कदम उठा लिया तो यही लोग किसानों को भ्रमित करने में जुट गए हैं। मैं अपने किसान भाई बहनों से फिर एक बार कह रहा हूं, बार बार दोहराता हूं कि उनकी हर शंका के समाधान के लिए सरकार 24 घंटे तैयार है। मैं सभी राजनीतिक दलों को हाथ जोड़ के कहना चाहता हूं, आप सारा क्रेडिट अपने पास रख लीजिए। आपके सारे पुराने घोषणा पत्रों को ही मैं क्रेडिट देता हूं, मुझे क्रेडिट नहीं चाहिए। मुझे किसान के जीवन में आसानी चाहिए, समृद्धि चाहिए, किसानी में आधुनिकता चाहिए। आप कृपा करके देश के किसानों को बरगलाना छोड़ दीजिए, उन्हें भ्रमित करना छोड़ दीजिए। लेकिन अब अचानक भ्रम और झूठ का जाल बिछाकर अपनी राजनीतिक जमीन जोतने के खेल खेले जा रहे हैं। किसानों के कंधे पर बंदूक रखकर वार किए जा रहे हैं। हमारी सरकार ने जो पीएम किसान सम्मान योजना शुरू की है, उसमें हर साल किसानों को लगभग 75,000 करोड़ रुपए मिलेंगे। यानी 10 साल में लगभग 7.5 लाख करोड़ रुपया किसानों के बैंक खातों में सीधे ट्रांसफर, कोई लीकेज नहीं, किसी को कोई कमीशन नहीं।
So that was the Prime Minister defending the reforms. Since this is a subject which concerns the economy of the nation as much as our politics, I want to come to Shubhamoy Bhattacharjee first. Mr. Bhattacharjee, as you have been observing, the government has been very aggressively defending the need for these reforms. But the farmers have also adopted a very maximalist position. Now that the apex court has stepped in, do you see a way coming out, or at least an effort for a solution?
Well, first of all, it is a law that has been passed by Parliament. Whether a law passed by Parliament or not can be reviewed by the Supreme Court if there's a challenge to that law.
Right.
But I'm not very sure why the Supreme Court should be asking the executive how the law should be implemented. It is not within the remit of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, just like anybody else, might have observations, might have, expectations, but that is not the remit of the bench. If the bench has to decide, the bench has to see whether the law is legal or not legal. Beyond that, the Supreme Court doesn't get into this thing. So I don't think going to the Supreme Court really, if it's not a constitutional issue, does really change anything.
Do you think the inconveniences of the commuters and people is one aspect of the question? But from what we have been reading in the media, because this is media scan, we take a cue from what is being reported. Do you think the merits of the laws might come into examination?
See, as the petition that was made before the Supreme Court does not talk about the need for a change in the law.
Right.
It is talking about talking about lots of other things. And without getting into the merits of a law, the Supreme Court frankly does not have the locus standi to say why the executive should be implementing a law or shouldn't be implementing a law. So that is purely there. I've seen lots of media reports saying Supreme Court has got into it, giving a via media.
Yes.
Well, maybe but that's purely a political position that the Supreme Court is then taking. It is not acting as a court where a legal issue is being talked of. Like in the coal case or in the telecom case where there was a legal issue which was being discussed. If it is not being discussed, I'm not saying that this one doesn't allow itself to be discussed as a legal issue, but so far it has not come up as a legal issue.
Allow me to bring in Mr. Ghoshal here, because that's a very interesting, point at which we are discussing. Mr. Jayanta Ghoshal, Shubhamoy is very clear about the fact that we may go into various other questions, but the merit of the law as such does not come into examination here. So taking that as the basis point, where do you think this tends to go from here now? Are we on the way to a solution? Can we see something coming out, an agreeable position on both sides?
Smita, actually, I completely agree with Mr. Bhattacharya on this issue, because our constitution makers, they have created a culture of balance of power.
Yes.
And the executive, judiciary, and the legislature business are very highly watertight. Compartmentalization is there. And there are a lot of controversy on the judicial activism. When Somnath Chatterjee was a speaker, that time also we faced a lot of controversies on this issue. And Somnath Chatterjee was also from Supreme Court actually. He became chief speaker.
And yet he had expressed a lot of anger on the judiciary more than once.
Mr. Bhattacharya, what he said, I agreed with his logic, that Supreme Court can discuss the political discontent, and there is a fault lines. If they find any in our civil society, they can interfere, they can discuss. Right. But so far the bills are concerned, there are 3 bills, and Prime Minister has said, today also he has said that these bills, actually they have brought the bills in Parliament after a long marathon meetings with the agricultural scientists, the economists. So there was a process, and after that they brought the bill and bill passed. So there is no question of rollback of the bills, and Supreme Court cannot interfere on the legislative business.
On that, the government has been repeatedly very clear.
Yeah. So now the question is, what is the media perception is that Supreme Court is taking interest that this farmers movement, what is creating trouble in our civil society, there are a lot of issues. Because Prime Minister is also trying to address, try to clarify, and the meeting is also several rounds of meetings took place. The agriculture minister and the railway minister and several other representative officials. And they are trying to convince the farmers, even they are trying to bring some formulas also. There is a
Mr. Ghoshal,
proposal that...
I'll come back on that, on this outreach program of the government. Before that, I want to come back to Mr. Bhattacharya and ask one very quick remark, because we have gone into this on our earlier episode. Shubhamoy, how much of a need is there at this point of time for these very basic fundamental agriculture reforms? Also, a connected question, suppose we were to withdraw these reforms at this stage or put them in limbo, how much of a damage to our agriculture economy it can cause? I mean, we haven't read much in the media on this yet. That's why I'm asking.
First of all, if these laws go back, I'm taking the second one first.
Okay.
If these laws go back, you can be very sure they'll never ever come back.
Why is that?
It's clear because once the government loses its ability, the moral authority to say that these reforms are needed,
yes,
any other law which is made will naturally now have to, first of all, the government should have the political energy to be able to say that we are again going to touch the agricultural sector. It will be very difficult for the government, this government or for any government, to touch the agricultural sector.
Allow me to interrupt you here, but this is a very interesting point. That's why, do you think, taking a cue from what you have just said, do you think the government right now has the political capital to carry forth the reforms?
It will have to carry forth the reforms, because if it doesn't do so, then the significant problem that will come through is that India is a country where constituencies always have an issue about some reforms or the other, including even setting off savings rate on small savings. If that is the case, then the government will have very big difficulty to say that I agree to this constituency, I don't agree to this constituency. It might seem simple, it will be extremely difficult. We are talking about reforms in labor, remember?
Yes.
Those reforms have just started. There is an entrenched community which will say these are not necessary. Similarly, we are talking about banking sector reforms. bringing down government holding in them, and each one of those will require a legislation, mind you, amendment to legislation to say those government-owned banks will not be government-owned banks. Do you think that the government, after conceding this space, such a huge public space, will have the space to be able to do those?
Point taken, sir. Point taken. So what you are saying is that if the government does not stick to its position now, it will not only be limited to agriculture economy, it's going to have fallouts in various other sectors. Just carrying on from here, I would like to come to Jayanta Ghoshal. Mr. Ghoshal, we were talking about the outreach program on the government side, led by no other than the Prime Minister himself. Continuous interactions, there are plans to hold farmers' rallies and various media programs to make the people aware of the need. So, what shows is that there is a strategy that, okay, if there is a section of the farmers who are not ready to accept it, let us go and reach out to the rest of the country. Do you think this will work? Is it a workable way to convince the country?
Smita, I broadly agree with you because Prime Minister and his team, they have given a message that they are very strong, on these bills. So and what Shubhama is saying that if you miss the bus, you will miss the bus forever. So
you
now
would have missed many buses.
Yeah, many buses. And Prime Minister is now very confident that, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, once I remember, he said that our Prime Minister is not Mr. Rollback Prime Minister.
Right.
So rollback करने का संस्कृति तो Prime Minister के style में नहीं है. So this is the first of all I should say that Prime Minister, he has taken a decision and the government has taken a decision, and today also he has said that he has taken the decision with the huge consultation, and this minimum support price, this is the only issue where the problem is, because the rich farmers who are actually interested on export of their production, food grain production and all these agricultural commodities, they are affected.
Right.
But in our whole country, all farmers are also not very homogeneous. I know in Bengal, there are a lot of Bargadar and this Bhumihin Krishak, they're the landless farmers. And the landless farmer and the kulaks of Punjab, they are all actually not in the same boat. So if Prime Minister wants to reach to the whole nation, whole agricultural workers of the country, state to state different, several states.
Allow me to get a remark from Shubhamoy here, because on the point which you said, the moot question here is the MSP. Shubhamoy Bhattacharya, from the beginning we have been hearing the concerns over the MSP. However, during the protests we have seen half a dozen other issues being brought into, including release of prisoners and all that. Just a quick remark on how you look at this bringing in of other issues. Is it just politics?
Well, obviously, these sort of things, when one agitation starts, other sort of things, that's expected in a democracy, and that is fair enough that, people will try to see how far they can expand their leverage. But the big point is there is two things that the government is right now challenged with. One is not only the MSP. There's another one which has not been talked about, is the rollback of the electricity amendment draft. That is a very serious, that is a major reform that is being talked about to reform the electricity sector in India. And it is that has become a part of the issues that are being debated. And as I just said, that you roll back one, there'll be several other cascading ones that will come in, and already you'll see the electricity amendment will and can fall a casualty to this particular agitation.
So as I had earlier said, there are lots of aspects of this entire farmers issue. We have been discussing it in depth for past at least 3 episodes, and yet a lot remains to be discussed. However, I must move on to the next subject of discussion on our table this evening. Another very interesting political development. Viewers, it's an all-out rebellion in the Trinamool Congress. Stalwarts who joined Mamata Banerjee to launch the TMC are now deserting her. Reports say that angry leaders are laying the blame on the Chief Minister, her nephew Abhishek, and also Prashant Kishore, who is now alleged to be micromanaging organizational affairs. This is all working to the advantage of the BJP, the main challenger in the state. Mamata Banerjee for now has put up a brave face, saying these decisions don't matter and few selfish people cannot rock her boat. Is this just personal ambitions and selfish interests playing out before the election, or is Mamata Didi losing the matriarchal command over her cadres? Let's discuss. Jayanto Ghoshal, what is happening in Bengal?
Smita, I think you are a very seasoned journalist. You remember Mr. Amit Shah, when he became party president,
Yes.
he once said that BJP now wants to be the pan-Indian party. So, humko Bengal jana hai. We should reach to Bengal like we should reach to South.
But I think that
So
happened in
Northeast-
the Lok Sabha elections, Jayanto Da. We
Yeah,
are going
so-
further than that.
Yeah, they got the dividend out of that strategy.
Yes.
And you have to accept one fact today, that Congress and left, they were the opposition, but BJP has occupied the main opposition space in Bengal. I am from Bengal. I understand how difficult it was. Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee may be the founder of Jansangh,
Yes.
but BJP didn't have a single MLA. Now BJP has only 3 MLAs.
Mr. Ghoshal,
And-
nobody is doubting that the BJP has made a very fast, inroads into Bengal politics down to the villages. The question here is, why are Mamata Banerjee's trusted soldiers suddenly so angry with her?
No, actually it is not sudden.
Okay.
Because before the incident, always there were antecedents. And for the last 10 years, there is a strong anti-incumbency. And BJP, what I wanted to tell you, that BJP consistently trying to explore the possibilities. It is not today, it has become sudden development, but it is the critical point, but the quantitative changes lead to the qualitative change. So
Yes.
today we are seeing that qualitative change, but before that, lot of quantitative changes took place in Bengal, and not only Subhendu Adhikari, maybe 10 to 20 MLAs can join in Subhendu's camp, and BJP is also very active in the micromanagement of their success, because Amit Shah, sometimes
So
I find
if I
that he's
gather-
like Chanakya.
If I gather what you are saying, there was a lot of unrest within the TMC. BJP leadership has been smart enough to capitalize on it to their advantage.
Exactly.
So I'll come back to
Exactly,
that.
each
because,
and every district.
yes, no,
Each
there
and
is
every
more to it.
district.
But before I come back to you, Mr. Ghoshal, I want to ask to Shubhamay one thing. It's not only limited to organizational matters, Mr. Bhattacharjee. This whole question of recall of IPS officers, Mamata Banerjee constantly blaming the center for trying to interfere in her administration, officers of central services openly defying diktats from the center. Do you see the bureaucracy has become a big player in the whole game? It's not just politicians anymore.
That's a very significant point you've raised, Smita. This is a new facet of Indian governance, which is coming up, and it wasn't there earlier.
Yes.
Clear
We did not
in
see
not just-
officers getting into political blame game.
Absolutely. And it's not just restricted to only one state. The nature might change, but in more and more states, key officers are being asked or are willing to show political commitment, which they were not supposed to show earlier, or at least they kept it on cover. Now that sort of a thing has very significant impact for India's governance issues, political issues, and so on and so forth. And this
And
needs to be
center-state relations?
and it will have a very major impact on center-state relations. we are now going into areas, health, vaccines, we are going to get into.
Right.
There will be power issues, there will be agriculture issues. More and more issues would be center state based, cooperative issues. I mean, issues where center states would have to be in acute consultations. So there, where bureaucracy is actually taking a position, a partisan position, even if, I mean, obviously it's some sections, but it is going to rapidly percolate to the junior bureaucracy. And there, the norms will actually be much weaker. Because the senior bureaucracy...
Do you think the leaders of our bureaucracy, say the IAS Association and similar bodies, should they start getting worried? I mean, is it time for them to step in?
Well, I know clearly that they are already, I mean, some of them have already, when I speak to them, I realize, I mean, the conversations are definitely about this thing. And it is something to be concerned about, that what is it going to be like. It's not about, because you can't just generally say, we have had different parties being in center and states earlier. But as you said, the differences were political, the differences were not administrative, it did not percolate to administrative things, at least not overtly. Now, since it's clearly there, some things are bound to give. And this would make something which we are going on towards, which will need to understand how this takes shape, because this is something where we have not been before. Our constitutional structure is not equipped to handle this. Our political structure also doesn't know how to do it.
Okay, let me bring in Jayanta Ghoshal on this, because as we come nearer to the elections, this officers and politicians, this whole issue might get quite murky actually. Jayanta, how do you see this playing out when the elections come nearer? Because officers have a very important role to play before and during polling.
Actually, Smita, what happened with these three officers, order, it created a major reaction in Bengal bureaucracy. And I think it has a political strategy also from Delhi that doing this, instance, you have given a message to the bureaucracy, because in West Bengal there is a culture of political violence and the involvement of police officials in the election process since communist regime.
Yes.
So doing a small order, you have given the message to all superintendent of polices and the district magistrates of all districts before election that, you should understand the Indian constitution and you should not politicize your bureaucracy.
So on the political side, you named Shubhendu Adhikari and a couple of other leaders. We are already seeing more than half a dozen leaders out openly. There is Sunil Mandal, there is Jitendra Tiwari, there is Colonel Diptangshu, then Shilbhadra Datto. I mean, it is such a huge number. Practically more than half of Bengal is seeing an unrest against the leadership. My question to you is this exodus going to grow? Some of them have resigned as MLAs, some have resigned party positions, some others have not resigned anywhere, but then they have expressed their displeasure. How do you see this building up?
Yeah, I think more MLAs may join, and there will be a major, churning inside TMC. But one point I should fear to Mamata Banerjee also, that she is also a fighter. She is fighting, and in spite of all this, this is a challenge for her, and now it has to be seen how. What will be her counter strategy to combat this situation, because she is also a very popular leader and she has a larger than life image in Bengal. Like Narendra Modi is a very popular of the country, but you cannot say that Mamata Banerjee is a very unpopular leader in Bengal. So now BJP is trying to erode Bengal, but it is a challenge for Mamata. But Mamata is also not slipping. What will be her counter strategy, that has to be seen also.
Perfect. So one thing that nobody will ever believe is that Mamata Banerjee will go down in battle without fighting it till the end. And that is why perhaps the West Bengal politics in the coming days, I'm not even talking of elections, even the coming few months are going to be very, very interesting. On that note, viewers, I'm afraid I have completely run out of time today. So I'll promise you to invite both our guests, Shubhamoy Bhattacharya and Jayanta Ghoshal, one of these weekends again, so we can carry onwards from here. Meanwhile, thank you very much, Shubhamoy Bhattacharya and Jayanta Ghoshal, for joining this interesting discussion. Viewers, please do continue to watch DD India as we continue to scan the media for you. Good night.
जल्दी करो यार।